You canceled the plans again. Not because something came up, but because the thought of going, the noise, the small talk, the performance of being on, felt heavier than whatever you'd miss by staying home. And the strange part is, you don't fully regret it. You sat in the quiet, and something in you exhaled. But another part of you wonders. Is something wrong with me? That question deserves a real answer. You've probably noticed a pattern. Group settings drain you in ways that are hard to explain to people who don't feel it. It's not shyness. You can talk to people. You can even be warm, funny, present. But afterward, there's a cost. A tiredness that sleep doesn't quite fix. So you started protecting your alone time. Guarding it, even. And somewhere along the way, people started calling you hard to reach or too much in your head. Maybe you started believing them. Maybe you told yourself you were antisocial. Cold. Broken in some quiet, invisible way. But here's what research suggests. The preference for solitude, when it's genuine, not fear-driven, is linked to a specific neurological profile. One that comes with costs, yes. But also with 6 strengths most people never develop. Introversion, as defined by psychologist Carl Jung and later refined in modern personality research, is not a disorder. It's a nervous system orientation. People who prefer solitude tend to have a more reactive cortex, meaning their brains reach optimal arousal with less external stimulation than others need. What feels like too much to you is not weakness. It's calibration. Your nervous system is tuned to a frequency that requires quieter input to function well. The world wasn't built for that frequency. But that doesn't mean the frequency is wrong. Research in neuroscience shows that introverts and solitude seekers tend to have higher baseline dopamine sensitivity. Dopamine is the brain's reward signal. It fires when something feels good, stimulating, or meaningful. You don't need as much external noise to trigger it. Loud environments, constant social input, overstimulation, for your brain, this isn't energizing. It tips past the optimal zone. Think of it like a speaker with the volume already turned up halfway. For others, the room has to get loud before they feel it. For you, you're already feeling it, and more noise just distorts the signal. Studies using brain imaging show that introverts process information through longer, more complex neural pathways, through areas associated with planning, emotional memory, and self-reflection. Extroverts use a shorter, faster sensory pathway. Neither is better. But yours goes deeper. And that depth is where your 6 strengths live. Strength 1, deep processing. Your brain doesn't just receive information, it routes it. Through memory. Through meaning. Through pattern recognition. Psychologist Elaine Aron and researcher Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi both point to the same finding: people who spend more time in their own minds develop richer internal models of the world. In real life, this looks like this: you see implications others miss. You notice when something doesn't add up. You feel the emotional weight of a conversation long after it ends, because you're still processing it. This isn't overthinking. It's depth of processing. Strength 2, emotional self-regulation. Solitude is, neurologically, a form of emotional training. When you spend time alone without constantly reaching for distraction, you learn to sit with internal states, discomfort, uncertainty, low-level sadness, without immediately trying to escape them. This builds distress tolerance. In daily life, you don't react as impulsively as people expect. You can hold difficult feelings long enough to respond rather than just react. That skill is rarer than it sounds. Strength 3, authentic relationship building. Because you conserve your social energy, the connections you invest in tend to be more intentional. Research Co. Research consistently shows that depth of connection, not frequency of contact, predicts long-term meaning in relationships. You don't collect people. You choose them carefully. And you listen in a way that people feel, actually feel, rather than just hear. One real conversation, fully present, means more than 20 surface-level ones. Strength 4, creative thinking. Creativity doesn't come from stimulation. It comes from incubation. Research on the brain's default mode network shows it activates most strongly when you're alone, quiet, and mind-wandering. This network supports imagination, insight, and novel connection-making. The ideas that arrive in the shower, on a walk, in the space between tasks, they're the product of a mind that was given enough quiet to actually think. Strength 5, heightened self-awareness. Self-reflection activates regions in the brain associated with self-referential processing. Over time, this creates a clearer internal map, a more accurate model of your own values, reactions, triggers, and patterns. You know when something is off before you can name it. You know what you actually want, separate from what you're supposed to want. That clarity is power. Strength 6, tolerance for uncertainty. Because you're comfortable sitting with your own unresolved thoughts, you've developed one of the most valuable psychological traits a person can have. The ability to hold uncertainty without collapsing into anxiety or rushing into premature conclusions is linked to better decision-making, flexibility, and resilience. You've practiced not knowing. Most people fill silence immediately, with noise, with certainty, with someone else's opinion. You've learned to stay in the question. And staying in the question is how real answers arrive. Think of your mind as a lake. Some people are energized by activity on the surface. You are energized by depth. The deeper the water, the more it holds. More pressure. More stillness. More life beneath the surface that no one passing by can see. Your strengths, deep processing, emotional regulation, authentic connection, creative thinking, self-awareness, and tolerance for uncertainty, live below the surface. They don't announce themselves in groups. They show up when it matters. You were never broken. You were running a different operating system, one that needs quieter conditions to show what it can do. The world will keep telling you to be more available. More social. More easy to read. But the person you become in the quiet, the one who thinks carefully, feels deeply, and moves with intention, is not a lesser version of something. That is the whole version. You don't need to prove it to anyone. You just need to stop apologizing for how you're built. And the next time you close the door, let the silence in, and exhale. Remember. Something is not wrong with you. Something, quietly, is very right.
If this resonated, stay.